Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is a Hummel, the tier 6 German SPG. This one's located on the north spawn of Malinovka, and this one's under the command of Butcher. Now he's got the 15cm howitzer, but it's the top gun, not the stock gun, because he's got a very long barrel and 3 marks of excellence on the front of it. Game on! Well, as many of you know, the Hummel, designed based on the Panzer IV, they built 705 of them, and 157 were known as Munitionsträger. That means that they were basically the same vehicle, but without the howitzer in the centre, and they would just carry the ammunition that was used by other Hummels. Of course, you can only fit a limited number of shells inside the vehicle. And that on the right hand side is where the powder charges are actually held, whereas the shells are actually on the left hand side of the vehicle. Okay, he's aiming for the enemy, and well, he started off aiming for a set of bushes at the back of the map, hoping that the enemy Arty is going to be there. Oh my gum, he's got a kill straight off the bat on an enemy Hummel. The enemy team had a Hummel and an AMX-13 F3, and he managed to work out where that enemy Hummel was straight off the mark. I didn't see any tracer from it. I suppose he was just guessing as to where the other guy was. Rounds out. He's aiming right for the very back of the map at the moment. Normally, players would actually be trying to hit the spotting bush to take out the enemy light tank that happens to be looking. There is no light tank, but he has found the enemy Arty. There is a tracer there coming out of that bush, just slightly to the right though. I think he's... whatever he's using to work out where the enemy Arty is, he's got it slightly wrong there. It's actually slightly to the right. You can see the tracer. Well, far be it from me to actually accuse anyone of using any cheat mode, but it's amazing that he managed to work out where the first Arty was from the first shot, and then hit the other one, which was some distance away, directly afterwards. And he's just killed the second Arty. And yes, I think we'd have to label this one as rather suspicious, because I didn't see any way that he could work out exactly where that Arty had actually moved to, because he did move. That wasn't the same spot he aimed at before, and now all of a sudden he's aiming, and he's already got a counter battery out of this one. I'd have to label this one as rather suspicious. I'm sorry, Butcher, but I think you laid that one in yourself, because you fired at a target or at a bush where there was no tracer from that bush whatsoever, and you got a kill straight off the mark, and then you fired at a completely different bush, not actually having seen any tracer coming out of that bush, and then obviously we saw the tracer after the first shot. And another direct hit on a bush with absolutely no tracer, no sign of anybody there, but something was there, because he just got a direct hit. So he's getting direct hits on the enemy without any indication that there was any enemy there. Oh yes, there's trees going down now, so we know that whoever's in that bush is moving away, and he's knocked the trees down by mistake in doing so. But it's always very suspicious when somebody aims without any clues to why they've aimed there. So I think Butcher has a lot of explaining to do. Rounds out. And another direct hit. And yet again, the only trace that we know that there was an enemy there was the fact that a Hellcat had been seen there earlier in the game. And you can see the other Arty the FV304 had actually aimed at that spot because there's a shell crater from his 4.5-inch howitzer. Okay, he's decided he's not going to go for the same spot again, and he's aiming somewhere where there's no tracer. And he fires another shot at a couple of bushes and gets nothing from that. Now the Hellcat has actually come back to that mount now, so he's actually visible at the moment. There he is, and he has taken some damage, but the T-78 next door to him has actually taken even more damage. He's only got 13 hit points left, so I think he was one of the ones that was actually struck. I think you'd have to say that any Arty player would be suspicious when they see such incredible shots like that without enough evidence to prove why you actually aimed in that direction. Another direct hit with no trace that anyone was there. I know a lot of Arty players get accused of cheating, but I am extremely worried now that Entel Butcher has actually just shown us that he is somehow getting ideas on where the enemy is without any evidence to back it up. And so obviously I have to look at this and say, that's not right, that shouldn't be happening. You shouldn't be aiming at a bush with absolutely no clue, no previous knowledge of a target being there, and hitting that target. Rounds out. And he's just killed a T-78. The same T-78, I think, that was actually, or was it? No, there's another one. There's more than one T-78 in the game. And the other one is the one that was actually up on the heights. And he's headed towards our cap. Yes, that's definitely the one that was on F7, because he's down to 13 hit points. Now, he could be a splash kill. Just need to put the shell behind the rock. Rounds out. Unfortunately, it didn't splash him. Entel Butcher's team are one up on the enemy, and he's got 3 kills now, but I'd have to say that 2 of those kills are extremely suspicious. And given my experience with Arty, I've never seen somebody do that unless they've actually had some proof that the enemy was there straight off the match. If they knew the player concerned and they knew that he always goes to one specific spot. Again, he's killed a T-78. Now, as far as we knew, that T-78 was behind a rock, and now he's appeared in a bush. He's just been splash killed in a bush. And where was the evidence that he moved to the bush? No evidence whatsoever. He's down to his last 5 rounds. And they're the last 3 players on either team. Of course, the enemy doesn't have any Arty. The enemy that was actually close to the cap area has gone. Our Tog is down to the last few hit points, but the Hellcat's come back to try and protect our cap. And look at it, there's the Tiger 131. He's pushing the wreck along, and he just took a direct hit. So he's obviously suffered some damage, but we know exactly where he is now, and the Hellcat could actually get to a position where he can do something about it. Yeah, wrecks don't move sideways across the battlefield. So obviously he's being pushed along by the 131. The only other tanks in the game on the enemy team that could do that. Oh, and he's just killed the 131. Yeah, so I was saying the only other tank that could do that would probably be the M4A3E2, but it would be a very slow one because the E2 is a very heavy tank, lots of armor, which compromises its ability to move. Well, the enemy Hellcat's going for our Hellcat, but our Hellcat's more than up to the task. And that means now there's only one enemy left. It's the Sherman Jumbo. As far as we know, he was last seen in the vicinity. Just seen at the foot of the hill, somewhere near the fold in the ground. I wouldn't have thought that he'd be in that position there where he aimed just a short while ago. Near the dip. But he's aiming somewhere in the lake area, just shy of our cap area. And that's a kill without any clue as to why he was there. So, yes, I think this video is going to be talked about. Here's the end of battle results, and that was an ace tanker game for Entel Butcher in the Hummel. He managed to get a Bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he got 17. He got a Gauze medal for doing more damage, exceeding 8 times the hit points for his own vehicle. And he got a counter battery fire medal as well for taking out both enemy Arty, and he took them out virtually at the start of the game, very, very quickly indeed. He also picked up a high caliber for dealing the most damage in the game and a top gun for getting at least 6 kills. But I'm afraid most of those kills under suspicious circumstances. Let's have a look at the team score. Well, the highest damage in this game was 3,150 hit points. The second highest damage was the Sherman Jumbo, managed 2,542. And I don't see how he, Entel Butcher, had any clues to why that guy was where he was. The third highest damage in the game turned out to be the T-78. He got 1,641 hit points of damage. When it came to kills, it was Entel Butcher, 6 kills, 3 kills for the enemy T-150, and then there's a whole bunch of players with 2 kills apiece. And when it came to base XP, Entel Butcher's got that one as well with 1,350. The second highest being the Sherman Jumbo, who managed 791. And the third highest being the Porlak tank, who managed 687. We can see that Entel Butcher fired 16 shots, so he still had 2 rounds left at the end of the game. So he used his ammunition quite well, but 7 direct hits on the enemy and 3 penetrations. Well, I'm not surprised about the penetrations because 2 of the tanks he hit were Arty. And more than likely, the shell would just go straight through Arty, no problem whatsoever. You can see the enemy Hummel. Yep, that was a penetrating shot. The AMX-13F3 was not a penetrating shot. He actually penetrated both of the T-78s. This one here, which is Null Boom, Enter. And the other one was Crack Boom, Enter. And, well, let's have a look at the rest of the data before we go any further. 11 splashes as well, 3,150 hit points, all of it at more than 300 meters, damaged 8 of the enemy, killed 6, and did 8 stuns, but didn't get any stun assist off that one at all. On a free-to-play account, he earned 44,841 credits, and after resupply of ammunition consumables, took away 9,161 credits, 1,350 XP, base XP, times 2 for the first victory, took away 2,700 experience points altogether. Yes, now I'm looking at this replay and I'm saying this is very, very suspicious indeed, and I'm not the only one who thinks that. In fact, there is a replay by one of the T-78 players that got taken out. He was the one who was behind the rock and then moved to the bush and then got taken out behind the bush. And he has actually accused Entel Butcher of cheating. Cheat complete open map. And we can see that, yes, he did get some shots in. What we're going to do is we're going to watch his replay and we're going to run it and see exactly what happened from his perspective and when he moved from one bush to another and how did he get spotted or not. Let's run his replay right now. Okay, this is the battle from the T-78's perspective. Both of them are actually, both the T-78s are in a platoon, and it looks like they've got a slightly different username. So they're both on the same team, both in the same platoon, and they're going to fight their battles slightly differently. Well, we can see where the Hummel's going. He's actually sitting behind that bush, and whilst we're watching the T-78, we'll watch what happens to the Hummel. Well, he's going back into the bush. He's sitting in there. He hasn't fired yet. We've seen the tracer coming out of him, and he does fire, and we see the tracer come out. So he did fire one shot, and we can see that this player has actually gone into the bush. He was the one who was in the north bush, and there's the Hummel being killed by the return fire, the first shot that came from Mental Butcher. Meanwhile, we see the T-78 has actually gone up, and he's sitting in this bush here. Okay, he spotted a Porlak tank. We know at this particular point that Mental Butcher was aiming at the AMX-13F3. We'll bring the mini-map up a bit. We can see that the AMX-13F3 has lost some hit points after the second shot by the Hummel by Mental Butcher. You can see that ring turned up on the mini-map, showing that the shell had been aimed at him correctly. And he's just been hit again. The AMX-13F3 has lost some hit points. Meanwhile, our T-78 here is doing absolutely nothing except spotting. You see the AMX-13F3 is moving. He's changed position. He's gone to the corner. And there he's just been killed by Mental Butcher in the Hummel. Even after he changed position, he got spotted. Or we know that he fired originally when he was in the previous position, but he's now been taken out by Mental Butcher. Now we're looking here at the T-78, and he's fired on absolutely no one. He's just sat there in a bush, hiding from everyone. There's no possible way that Mental Butcher could know that he's there. Absolutely no possible way. He's not fired at all. He's hidden. His reference points are all hidden in the bush. And Mental Butcher is about to hit him. So expecting an Arty round to come flying in any second for most of his hit points. There, we heard a rumble. And there. He's lost 657 hit points with that shot. A direct hit which penetrated him for 657, and he says, lol, Arty blind for 657. And he communicated that to his teammates in the other T-78, who's over on the other side of the battlefield. It appears he was the one who knocked the trees down, but he didn't stay in that position. He moved. Where's he moving to? Well, we can see that the Hellcat just got hit on F7, and here we can see the T-78's gone to the bushes near his own cap area, and you can see there's a shell crater in the middle of those bushes, which is one of the spots that was aimed at earlier in the game by Mental Butcher. And there was a Hellcat in that bush because he's actually lost some hit points. You see the Ezra 31, he's lost hit points, whereas Francis F34 lost hit points to the FB304 on Mental Butcher's team. We just heard a rumble, and look at that, a shot came in at him very close by. We can even see that the shell that hit this T-78 actually landed on the turret, and now he's actually aiming at and shooting at the Hellcat, and he got spotted because of that, so he's pulling away. We can see the FB304 is firing. And he's changing position again. It looks like he's going back to the bush where he had before. No, he's decided to change spot altogether. The T-78, the other one, has just been hit. And if I remember correctly, that was the shot that Entel Butcher fired into the bush. A blind shot into the bush. He didn't get it on the first one, but he definitely got it on the second. You see, he's already lost a fair amount of hit points. He's changed position. Currently, our current T-78 has not been spotted by anyone. He's completely out of sight, unspotted. And any second now, Entel Butcher's going to kill that T-78 in the bush. There you go. No sign. He hadn't fired. He hadn't given away his position. He was still hidden in the bush. There was no way he could have been seen. Okay, and here you can see he's changed position. He's now behind the rock. And we know that in a very short while, Entel Butcher's going to fire a round, which is going to land just to one side of the rock. The TOG is engaging the T-3485M. There's the shot. Stunned him, but didn't get close enough to do any damage. Meanwhile, the Tiger 131 is pushing the wreck along. In fact, actually, he's been using that wreck for a little while. Now, this T-78 is now going to go into one of the bushes. His sixth sense has not gone off. He's not been seen. He's changed position, gone into the bush. Ah, now he did fire there and kill the FB304, but he didn't get spotted at all. No sixth sense go off. And there's the kill. Yes, I'm afraid they're already talking about sending in the replay to make a complaint. Well, what can you say? Plenty of evidence to show that something unusual is going on. Because I cannot see how Entel Butcher could have any knowledge that the enemy tank was there. He wasn't spotted when he shot the FB304. And you can see the Tiger 131 pushing the wreck along. Well, obviously that gives away your position automatically because wrecks don't move by themselves. So the Tiger 131 should have stopped pushing the wreck at that point and said, okay, I've been rumbled. And he should have just stopped doing that and driven around the map using the concealment that's available. But no, he keeps pushing the wreck and the next shell takes him out. And they're already talking about reporting him. It does look like the Hellcat was actually more interested in killing Entel Butcher than the Hummel on his team because of the disparity with the spotting and the blind kills. So I think Entel Butcher needs to give us an explanation as to why this happened. Otherwise, it actually condemns a lot of Arty players who do work out where the enemy is by using their knowledge to being accused of cheating. And there you go. How did he know that guy changed course at the last second Well, I'm quite surprised that Entel Butcher put this up on our page, but he did. And as a consequence, I have to let Wargaming know, because, to be honest, until he can explain why he managed to get this, know exactly where the enemy was to put shells directly on target with blind shots without any clues to why they were there, especially that T-78, who didn't fire. He just sat in the bush. And there was no way that he could get a direct hit on somebody hiding in a bush. It's just impossible. So I'm afraid this has to be reported to Wargaming, because from now on, otherwise people will look at this suspiciously and say the Arty players are cheating. So we have to report one of our own when we find out that one of our own is not playing by the rules. So Entel Butcher, it's up to you now to explain to me why, and to the other members of What Arty Noobs, why we should not report you to Wargaming, and why we should not take action over this, because it does very much look like you've been cheating. And I suspect that Wargaming will take one look at this and say, yeah, definitely. So it's up to you. Explain it, because I'm going to put this video on YouTube, and it's up to you to then explain to us why Wargaming should not take action against you. Thanks for watching.